Hi guys, and welcome back to JavaScript Playground. In one of the previous videos, we saw how to update styles for an HTML element. Now, to update styles, we can simply do selected element.style.property name, but it's not that simple for getting the style values. So in today's video, we will learn how to get value for element styles. There are two ways to get styles, depending on how you have added the styles. If the element has inline styles, then you can simply do selected element.style.inline property name. But if you have style elements using a CSS file, then you need to use this method window.getComputedStyle selected element.property name. Before we try these, let me show you what are computed styles. So let's inspect. So if you see here, there's another tab right next to styles. When I click here, it shows me all these styles and their values. So if, for example, the height we've given in the style file is 100 viewport high, but the computed value is 722.4 pixels. So these are the values which are calculated based on the current screen. All right, so coming back here. So if I open, so this button has an inline style of margin right 0. So the first button has a margin right of 24 pixels, but the second one has the margin right of 0. So let's try getting the styles for this one. So first we need to select an element, and for that we need an ID. So coming here, so let's do variable button. So this is increase font. So document.get element by ID. So let's pass the ID here. Now we have access to this button element. So let's do button increase font dot style console log. Let's try printing it. So coming here, coming to the console, and as you can see, we've got this big style object. And if you come down here to margin right, it has a value of 0 pixels because that's what we gave here. If we change it to 8 pixels and we save it, so coming back here, let's expand our object. So here we've got margin right 8 pixels. All right. Similarly, let's try printing it for the first button. So coming back here, this first button has a margin right of 24 pixels and a margin top of 24 pixels. But the styles are defined in index.css file. These aren't inline styles. So let's give it a try. So btn decrease, let's create a variable. So btn decrease font. So document.get element by ID and btn decrease. Now we have access to this element. So let's try printing its styles. So btn decrease font dot style. Let's save it. Let's check the console. So we've got two style objects printed. So the first one is for the first button. So coming down here, so if you see margin right top, it's all empty because we haven't given any inline style. So only the inline styles or only the styles that we've added through JavaScript are visible over here. Now, if you want to access that margin right, so we could simply do margin or capital right. Remember, the hyphens are removed and everything gets converted to camel case. So coming here, and as you can see, we've got 8 pixels printed. So what do we do to access the styles which are in a CSS file? So as I mentioned earlier, we have this another function, window.getComputedStyle. So let's give that a try. So window.getComputedStyle. Now this accepts or selected HTML element. So let's pass it here. So btn decrease font. And after that, we can access any style property that we have defined in the index.css file. So dot, say margin right. Let's just put it in a console log. Let's paste it here. So as you can see, we've got 24 pixels. So if we change the value, so instead of 24, we make it 36. So we should be getting 36 here. Let's refresh it. And as you can see, we've got 36 pixels. So that's how we access these CSS styles. Similarly, if we access a style which is not present here, say for example, so we haven't given it a text decoration. So let's try accessing that value. So if we do text decoration and we save it, so in the console, well, it has a default value, so none solid and a black color. Let's try some other value. So as you can see, these are all computed values. So even the default values will be visible here. So as you can see, it has a default word spacing of 0 pixel. So it's visible here. Similarly, this text shadow, it has a default value of none. So that's visible here. So all these default values will be visible in this computed tab. All right. So moving on. Now let's try a small practice problem. So when we click on this font plus button, it should increase the font size of this text. And when we do font minus, it should reduce the size. Now, before we can work with font size, first we need to access it. So let's give it a try. All right, so as you can see here, so the ID for our heading is main heading. Let's select this element. So var, say main heading. So document.get element by ID. Let's pass it here. Now we have access to this heading. And because this heading does not have font size as an inline style, so we cannot access it like this. We will have to use the function get computed style. So let's give it a try. Let's try it here. So main heading dot, so window dot get computed style. So this accepts our selected element, so which is main heading, and then we can access the style property, which is font size. Let's save it. So coming back here, let's check our console. And as you can see, we've got 24 pixels. So let's try increasing this on button click. Let's store it in a variable. So var initial font size. Now we have this initial font size stored in a variable. Now on increase button click, we can increase the value, and on decrease button click, we can decrease this value and update the style again. So let's give it a try. So main heading dot style. Now to update the style, we can simply use this method. So selected element dot style dot property name. So let's say we want to increase it by 100 pixels by default. So initial font style plus 100 pixels. Well, now the problem is this wouldn't work because initial font style is in pixels. And what we're doing here is we're concatenating two strings. All right, so let's do this. So let's print it again. So initial font size. Let's comment this line for now. Let's save it, and coming here, as you can see, we've got 24 pixels printed in the console. So let's create a new variable, say size, and let's store a string here, 24 pixels. So if we print size, it gives you 24 pixels. Because this is a computed font size, it will always be in pixels. So what we can do is we can select only the number part. So for that, we can do substring. So size dot substring 0, 3, 2. So from 0 till 1. So 2 is not inclusive. So 2 minus 1. So we get 24. What if the string was bigger? Say size was 100 pixels. Then this wouldn't work. It just gave us 10 pixels. So what we can do is instead of this 2, we can create a dynamic value here. So size dot length minus 2. Let's put it in parentheses. And as you can see, Now this statement will always give us the number value. So even if the size is, say, 8 pixels, and we run the statement, we get the number. So the pixel part is trimmed off. So let's copy this, coming here. So what we can do is, after we get the value, we can update it. So instead of size, it will be initial font size. So this would give us the number value always. So let's uncomment this, say, so we've got this number, we can do plus 16 plus pixels. So the problem here is this initial font size is a string. So we have to convert it into a number. So we can do parse int. Let's save it. Similarly, instead of 16, say we wanted to increase it by 100 pixels. So it's now 100 pixels bigger than what it was initially. So 124 pixels. So if you see here, the font size is 124 pixels. And because we are updating styles using JavaScript, it's added as an inline style. All right. So coming back, now what we want to do is, instead of hard coding it by 100 pixel increment, let's increase by 10 pixel on button click, or decrease by 10 pixel on decrease button click. So let's add those. Dot. We can use on click also. Let's try both actually. So on click, let's create an anonymous function here. So main heading dot style dot font size is equal to initial font size, and let's update the initial font size first. So minus equal to, this is increment, so plus equal to 100 plus pixels. Let's put this in a parenthesis just to be safe. Let's save it. So coming here, so when I click, it went to 24 plus 100. So again, the problem is this initial font size is a string. So after this processing, let's just convert it into an integer. All right, so now when I click, again, it's troubling me. Okay, so the problem is this is a number and this gets converted to string. So let's remove this from here. So increase it by 100 plus pixels. So coming back, now when I click here, the font size increases by 100 pixels. Let's make it 10. Similarly, for decrement, we can do, first we select the button for decrement. We can use either this event property, or we can add an event listener. So event listener accepts two arguments. First, the type of event, so which is click in our case, and then a function. So let's create an anonymous function for this as well. Let's just copy this, paste it here, and instead of plus, this would be minus. Let's save it. Let's give it a try. So when I increase the font, so when I click on this font plus, it increases. When I click on font minus, it decreases. And that's a wrap for today. I hope this gave you a better understanding of how to get styles of an HTML element. But if you have any doubts or queries, feel free to drop a comment below or reach out to me on Twitter. I'll add my Twitter handle in the description below. Bye and take care.